What's going on, guys? Welcome to the 12th edition or episode of the Streamline Podcast. I'm Narik Chase, and in this one, we're going to be talking about the best of Star Wars. As I've stated, with the best of videos, there's typically the best of that franchise, whether it's the best movies, the best video games, the best books. If there's a comic book series, which there are comics when it comes to Star Wars that I haven't read, so I'm going to exclude that totally out of it. But in this one, I am going to be talking about the best of the movies, the games, the TV shows, and the books. So without further ado, let's get into it. Star Wars is a very expensive and very long-running science fiction, I guess you could say space opera, a series that has been established, I believe, in the 70s, and it is one of the most prominent sci-fi franchises to this day. Of course, Disney not recently brought the George Lucas franchise, but the franchise was started by George Lucas, and Disney ended up buying it. So it's under Disney's name ownership now. But there are there's a lot of content when it comes to Star Wars, specifically when the comics and the books and the games. I have not read or played all of them, or nowhere near half of them. But I do have some that I believe are my personal favorite. And again, this is the best of Star Wars, in my opinion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, unless I had said that before, but I think I did about a minute ago. But anyways, I always like to ramble. Exposition. But anyways, let's go ahead and just get into it. First, I guess I'll start with the television shows. I've only seen two, and I haven't seen them all the episodes. There is Clone Wars that came out shortly after the prequels, and then there is the Clone Wars. Now, I like Clone Wars because, I mean, yes, it was a cartoon, it was more animated, but I like how the presentation of it. I liked how they did focus on the Force abilities in a more extreme way. The episodes did feel more episodic, like standalone episodes. Yes, it was going by each specific characters and what they were doing in the war. I don't think it felt like it felt more episodic. I mean, yes, it's the overarching story of the Clone Wars, but it felt more episodic. But I loved it. I thought the presentation of it was really good. I did like the action. I liked how, even though it was a cartoon, they didn't really pull in the punches because people did die in it. So I thought that was really good. And then, of course, you have the CGI, the Clone Wars, that end up coming out shortly after that. And like I said, I haven't seen all the episodes. I haven't seen all the seasons. But from what I have seen, I did like the character designs, the 3D. I didn't think it worked at first. It actually grew on me. I really appreciated the character designs. I love how, yes, it is talking about the actual Clone Wars, but there are stories within it. And they got some of the great characters. There's a Sanji Ventress. There's Ahsoka. Anakin gets a little bit more focus. You get Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I love, they got Grievous that's in it. He's badass. Darth Maul comes back. He get a lot of great moments in it. It's just great with the characters and the overarching story of the Clone Wars. I do love the fact that Anakin has. I like the relationship that Ahsoka, Anakin, and Obi-Wan have together, and I think it's great. Like I said, I love the fact Darth Maul comes back in. He has a great story arc in himself. I love Sanji Ventress. She is probably one of the most underrated characters to me in the series. Maybe because she didn't make an appearance in the movies, but I love her character. I think she's a great tragic character, actually, and I love her story arc throughout the series. But if you're looking for action, if you're looking for comedy, if you're looking for a well-written story and emotional moments, the Clone Wars has it. I haven't seen Rebels, not yet. I've seen a little bit of the Ahsoka Vader fight, but that's about it. And I know they're coming up with live action, but since I don't ain't seen either one of them. But anyway, so moving on from the television series, of course, we have the movies. Personal favorite. Sorry, I had about 4 hours of sleep. I was working on this stuff on my website last night. Of course, I'm just going by my personal favorites. The Last Jedi that came out 2017. Of course, The Empire Strikes Back. That's probably my second favorite. My first favorite is The Force Awakens. I loved Rogue One. I thought it was a great movie. Revenge of the Sith. I liked Clone Wars. Yes, I'm one of the few people that actually did. And I did like The Phantom Menace, even though it had a lot of problems. But I guess I like it more. I do like the bits of it. I do like some of the bits of it. Yes, the pod racing I thought was pretty cool. The whole political things that was going on, I actually like that. The political intrigue. And, of course, Darth Maul, he didn't talk really much in the movie, but he was badass. So there is a bit of that. But I did really appreciate the movies. Yes, people like the originals more than the prequels. I like the prequels because I like exposition on things. I like backstory. I like knowing why Anakin became Vader. I like to know why the Republic became the Empire. I like to know why the Jedi were wiped out. And I think, and yes, the prequels have a lot of problems, but I'm not gonna lie. So did the original ones too. I don't care what anyone says. The original ones had a lot of problems of their own. I think I'm not saying that I don't like. I'm not saying that I don't like A New Hope or Return of the Jedi. They're just not my favorites. These are actually my favorites. I would say probably The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. They're about on the same line. They'll be like the last ones, but they'll be like right next to each other. But they have things that I like about them a lot. Like I probably would go out and buy them. I would not buy Return of the Jedi, and I would not buy A New Hope. I don't care what anyone says. I wouldn't. But for the most part, I do like those movies. I especially love The Force Awakens because it brought Star Wars back from the brink. Like I like all the movies in some form or fashion, but The Force Awakens actually just stood out to me. I really loved Rogue One. It was a different direction, but it felt like it was a part of the Star Wars mythos. I love The Last Jedi. Has to literally be the most emotionally powerful story out of all of the films, and especially the exposition of the stuff that goes on behind the Empire's actions and the First Order's actions. And I love that people that are being affected by this, people that are benefiting from this, people the resistance hunted down to damn near extinction. I love that about that movie. So I thought it was a great addition. I love the Attack of the Clones, especially when the political intrigue and the espionage thriller moments that are in it. Loved, of course, the whole fight where the clones actually come in, and one of literally the best action sequences ever put on screen on the Star Wars movie. I mean, there are better ones in other movies, but this in Star Wars, this is literally one of the most epic sequences ever. So I did like the idea behind the whole the Clone Wars and everything, and how it built up to it. I love Revenge of the Sith. You finally get to see how the Empire becomes what it becomes. Of course, Anakin becomes Vader. The Jedi lose. Probably about the only nitpick I had a couple of nitpicks with the movie. What they could have done better is how Anakin turns, because I didn't really buy his turn like that. But that topic leads me into the books, because Revenge of the Sith is one of my favorite books because it does a hell of a lot better job of establishing Anakin's turn to the dark side and his thought processes. one of my favorite Star Wars books, and one of my favorite books, if not the favorite book, actually concerning the character of Vader. I love the Rise of Darth Vader too, because now he is definitely making that transition from Anakin to Darth Vader, and I just love it. I love the fact that he does question things. I love the fact that he's like, yes, I am with you, Palpatine, to become a better and stronger Sith. But when I get to that point, when I don't need you no more, I'm going to kill the crap out of you. First chance I get. But until then, you got me. So I do love that dynamic, and I love how they describe him. Like, they do a great if there's any exposition onto how Anakin becomes Vader, as well as like description of his outfit and stuff. Like, if you want to get into Vader's head, this is the book to start with. It is just done just well. Love the writer for just the exposition, just the thought process, just everything about the character, detail to the character. They did a great job with the character. I like Darth Bane, Ruler 2. Especially how it does establish, which to some extent I think it kind of did and kind of didn't establish the whole Ruler 2. Why there's, despite all these Jedi's, always one Sith Master and one Sith Apprentice, and then the Apprentice kills the Master, then they take an Apprentice, then that Apprentice kills them. You know, it kind of does a decent job of talking about that, and I like that. I like that they actually did, you know, go into the story of behind that. And Darth Bane was actually a pretty cool bad guy. It was a pretty interesting story. Ooh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I was yawning. Good God. I love Vector Prime. And this, and I think this is book 1 or either book 2. I think it's book 1 or book 2 of this trilogy of the Uzan Vong invasion, where the Star Wars galaxy is now being invaded by these weird aliens from another galaxy that have that love pain, and they use like bioorganic weapons, which is pretty cool. Like when they're in space, they're flying actual creatures. One of the best concepts they had was they had this one huge creature that would attach to a planet, and then they have another huge creature that attach itself to another planet or something like that, and they would use those two to bring those two planets together and destroy them. Like, that was really cool. They're immune to the Force. They have weapons that can actually deflect lightsabers. I mean, the Uzan Vong was bad, but I like the story because it's a mystery and it's about espionage, and it's kind of like a spy thriller because they're starting to slowly creep into our universe, and then the climax is just this big ultimate battle between Uzan Vong and the Republic forces, which is awesome. And I would love for them to adapt that into a movie, or at least like a television series, you know, kind of like the one that's coming up. But the Uzan Vong were awesome. I love the approaching storm because it does take a seat back from all the action, and you get to see Anakin and Obi-Wan, as well as Illuminara and her, what's her, Barriss, is either Barriss Ophi or Barriss Ophi, her apprentice. And I love it because it explores the mentality and beliefs, culture around the Jedi, and how they think about stuff. And you can see that because of how Anakin has kind of a more different process than a normal apprentice, so they explore that a lot, and I love the fact that they do that. It's great from all the action and espionage and everything. So it's a great story. I love the Attack of the Clones, especially the whole Padme Anakin relationship that does develop, and I think they did a better job, of course, than the movie. So when Padme actually says she does love Anakin, I believe him more in the book. Of course, Darth Maul Shadowhunter, which is a prequel to the Phantom Menace, and Darth Maul is pretty, and it leads up to the Phantom Menace. It is pretty badass, and it gives Darth Maul his little time to shine too. I greatly appreciate that, and I love the things that are going on behind the scenes. They do a great job of giving exposition of that. Now we're going to go into the games. I only got about 5 games. I haven't, like I said, I haven't played Star Wars like that, so get off my back. I don't. But then again, I don't really care. But but anyway, of course, we have The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2. Force Unleashed came out in 2008. The second one came out in 2010. They need to make a third game, but perhaps do a bit better on the story. But The Force Unleashed basically follows. It's like a what if alternate thing where Vader ends up picking up a apprentice called he dubs Star Killer, who is his like hidden apprentice who goes after Jedi when Darth Vader can't. And it's actually both games are actually pretty awesome. They both have their little nitpicks in here, which I will say Force Unleashed 2 has a better combat system than the first one. But I think the first one has a bit of a better story and a more extensive story at that. I do like I do like the portrayal of the powers. Some of my favorite sequences of both games, where mostly in the second game, is the sequences where Starkiller is falling like off these like extremely high places, and he's using his abilities to force push rocks and debris and and electricity and just falling like a free fall. And it's one of my absolute favorite things about the game, especially in terms of how to implement the force powers into the combat, which I think they did a great job of. Another game which does that same has that same thing is the whole Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast game. Great game. I loved, again, it was a very good story. It had a great combat system, and one thing I did like about the combat system is you had 3 styles, and I think the 3 styles more fit like the types of movies that they had, because you have the style where it's like zoom, 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 like that, and then they have the more fast-paced ones that are you see more in the new movies where it's like zoom, 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 like that, and you're spinning and all of that stuff. And then you kind of have the power, the lightsaber techniques of like Vader, where is like zoom, like extremely powerful, but like long-winded ones. So I did like the combat system in that one, and I like the exploration. Like I said, a really good story. And I think that game actually helped me get more into Star Wars too, because it was an interesting game. I do wish they HD it up or bring that game back or something, but I do wish they kind of would HD it back up. I did play Battlefront 2 that came out in 2005. Really enjoyed the campaign. More enjoyed the multiplayer. Thought it was fun. I loved playing with all of those different characters. I'm one of those people that I would prefer to play as like a Jedi or a Sith rather than any shooter. But, you know what I'm saying, it was a great game. It was very entertaining, and I just loved it. And also, I can't bring up like games like this without just bringing up a Lego game. I did get the Lego Star Wars The Complete Collection. And that's the original series as well as the prequels. Fun. It was funny. It was humorous. Loved the multiplayer co-op. It was just a great game. It does, and you get, you know what I'm saying, of course, there's the force abilities, which you don't really use them like that. There are certain instances where you can use them, which are, you know, things like that happen in these Lego games. But it's a fun game overall. And then, you know, you can be a badass wielding a lightsaber and jumping around and stuff. But the Lego game was actually pretty awesome too. But that is pretty much my list right there. I like Star Wars. I think Star Wars is pretty good. I would like to get into a little bit more, especially the extended universe, which you see more in the books, and a bit more what's going on into the comics. Also, I cannot wait for more of the standalone movies that are coming out, because I believe Han Solo is supposed to come out either in March or June, but I think it's March this year, as well as the Star Wars Episode 9, which is scheduled to come out next year, possibly around December, which has kind of been the kind of been like the bit of the tradition of Star Wars lately is to come out in December each year. Rogue One came out, and like I said, I like Rogue One. Rogue One was actually pretty awesome. I love the humor, and I love that they again showed things that were going on in the background. I will say this: Rogue One literally has the most iconic, the most badass, the most memorable sequence for Darth Vader in any of the films. I'm not lying. That scene was just Darth Vader is just slaughtering these guys. It was bad. The only problem I had with it was it's too freaking short. I would love to see them done some more damage. Please tell me on the DVD or something that they have an extended cut of that or something. But yes. Anyways, guys, in the comment section below, let me know what is the best of Star Wars to you, whether it be the games, the TV shows, the books, or the movies, or even the comics. Let me know in the comments section, please. Also, be sure to hit that like, that share, that subscribe button to get more content. Trying to be more consistent. And remember, guys, join us every Tuesday and every Thursday to go ahead and get on game on this channel. Hit that notification button because we'll be just speeding up this train, putting out more content. We greatly appreciate the views and the shares and the likes and the subscriptions. You guys are awesome. Greatly appreciate it. And to the next episode of Streamline, this is Narik Chase. Signing on out.